to talk about some of the challenges that we face today dealing with not only African American youth, but our youth in general. But we are especially concerned with African American youth doing this particular show. And first of all, let's see if we can have you, Reverend Hayes and Brother Cool, to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences and what really brought you to us this morning. Let's start with you, Reverend Hayes, and then we'll continue with you, Brother Cool.
Thank you. One of the things that I've been attended Tennessee State University after graduating from the Great Pearl High School, attended Vanderbilt Divinity School and Gammon Theological Seminary, where I obtained a Master's of Divinity degree. I also been a youth coach from the time I was like 18 years old. For many years, I coached Little League baseball. We won a lot of ball games. I also coached Little League football, and I coached the basketball team, youth at that time at Gordon Memorial Church. So I've been in coaching for a long time as far as youth was concerned. So I've been able to put back a little bit with a lot of youth.
And so you you're very familiar with some of the problems that we are talking about and some of the challenges that we have to face dealing with young people. Is that what we're saying?
It is, because back in when I was coaching, it was a little bit different. You could you know, be a little bit tougher on kids. Nowadays it's more challenging because everything is kind of up in the air. Kids are not getting the same motivation and instructions that they used to get. And so now we have to kind of take a step back and go back and try to make sure that we are giving our youth opportunities to succeed in life.
And Brother Cool, let's look at your background, your education, some of your experiences doing this particular segment.
Well, Reverend Haney, I want to thank you for having me here today. My name is RCoure. I'm a native Nashvilleian. I attended the public high schools here in Nashville. Went on to get my undergraduate degree from Fisk University, did graduate study at Tennessee State. Former teacher for 40 years in Metro Public High Schools, was head football coach at East High School, head football coach at White Creek High School, and I coached various other sports. And I'm very concerned about our youth today, and so that's why I'm especially happy to be here to talk about some of the issues that's happening in our community. Okay, I'm married, have one son and 2 lovely grandkids, and both of those kids attend Gower Elementary School.
Very good. You know, Brother Hayes, I think that when we talk about the activities that the two of you have been involved in, these are activities that bring you almost in intimate contact with young people.
Right.
You see, not only African American youth, but young people in general, especially talking about coaching young people, and et cetera. And so I think that within that context, we should have quite a bit of information in terms of what are some of the issues that these young people face today, and how we might be able to deal with some of these issues. Because I think that being a football coach, a baseball coach, and Brother RCoure, you've been all kind of coaches for many years. And I think that you bring just a wealth of information and knowledge in terms of how to deal with these young people, what we call African American youth. But I think that we all understand that all youth essentially are the same. You see, and the only reason we're talking about African American youth is simply because it appears that we have so many problems dealing with our young people. You know, you turn on the television set every morning to get the news, and you find that there's killing and et cetera. And so that's what we're trying to do today.
Well, you know, there's various factors that fall into that situation where our youth is heading today, and maybe we can talk about some of those topics and help improve the young men in our communities.
Very good. And what we're going to do, we're going to take our first commercial break, and then we come back with an 8-minute segment. And that will give us an opportunity to look down deep into some of the challenges that you have. I mean, some of the experiences that you've had on the playing field in school and et cetera, and perhaps use that as an example of how we might be able to sort of broadcast this information, knowing that nothing that we're going to say here is new.
Right.
We've all heard this before and et cetera, but nevertheless, we appreciate hearing it again. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. At 8 minutes, and we'll come back, and we're going to start with you, Brother Coure.
Okay.
And the purpose here is to talk about them.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you do with them over at East?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you know the challenges.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't have to tell you what you have to deal with. You see, and so and so then after he speaks for 2 or 3 minutes in reference to it, then Brother Hayes, you come back, and then we'll go back and let each of sort of feed off one another, and then we'll move toward that last segment, and then we'll talk about young gentlemen and et cetera. So I think that's a good way to deal with that. But basically, you know what to say about it. You know, some of the things that we have to do in order to encourage them and whatever. I think that's if we can start encouraging them to do right and go right, and et cetera, I think that's a good start. And so this will be a 8-minute segment here.
Seconds. Stand by.
Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Reverend Daniel Hayes and Brother Richard Coure from John Wesley United Methodist Church, we might add, because I think that both of you play significant roles in terms of your church experiences dealing with these youth and their aspirations and et cetera. And so what we'd like to do now, Brother Coure, is to have you to start us off by giving us some information in reference to what you have done over the many years in terms of dealing with young people and how some of the things that you do.
Well, first of all, I was a wellness teacher at East and Whites Creek High School, and we dealt with various type of topics about sexuality and dealing with conflict resolution and dealing with drugs and various other topics. And I've experienced firsthand how violence in our community, along with drug use, has contributed to where our young people are today. Now, there's a reason for this. Most of our students were on the low end of the socio-economical level, and a lot of times, money can put people at ease, and lack of money will want people to go out and do things illegally in order to feel good about themselves. And this is one thing that I try to teach, is that we have to be productive citizens that will contribute to society, give back to society, and not just go out there and break laws, and even though you may disagree with some of the laws, but there's certain rules and regulations excuse me, that we have to live by. And I try to be a role model and carry myself as a head football coach and have rules and regulations for my football team, and said these rules will apply to society. Now, if you can learn to live under these rules, you should be productive as you go out and when you graduate from high school, start a family, and be a role model of your own.
And so they need some kind of guidance, or somebody to lay down some rules and regulations, and you find that you can do that best within the coaching kind of situation.
Yeah, definitely need guidance. And I always tell this story. We had an athletic banquet at White Creek, and we had Joe Gillum Sr., he's former coach, head coach at Tennessee State University. And he came to speak with us, and he told us that we need more men to be role models to our sons. He said women or mothers raise their daughters to be like them. They take them shopping, they teach them how to cook and do various other things. And you don't see our fathers out with the sons in the community, you know, in the mall or going to some type of event, taking part with their sons and showing them how to be responsible, showing them that, you know, it's okay to act this certain way. You don't have to act like your friends down the street. And so we need more men to be the role models for our youth today.
And Reverend Hayes, I understand that you've had an extensive coaching career. Not only are you involved in the ministry, but you consider yourself a coach,
right,
in a real sense. And so what, in terms of meeting those challenges, what do you do in terms of talking to young people?
Well, one of the things that during my time that I was a Little League coach, baseball and football coach, I was very strict. We had a lot of rules, as Coach RCoure was saying, had a lot of rules, and my players had to walk by my rules. Also, I had a relationship with the parents, and a lot of parents, if the kids would miss school because I did a lot of coaching, most of my boys came from, at that time, either Preston Taylor or John Henry Hale. And if their parents had any problems with them, they would always call me. And I was able to set a lot of them straight, and a lot of them are doing a lot of good today. And so I think, as Coach said, that we have to stand up and take more of a role in our young men and young women's lives so they can be the people that we want them to be, but not just us, but that God wants them to be. And so that means we have to be tough sometimes. And we have to have some rules and some regulations to say, this is what we expect of you. And that's what I did in coaching. I expect to win. I mean, Coach RCoure was one of the greatest football coaches in high school. And so in Little League, I felt I was a great coach. And I was good because I didn't believe in losing. But at the same time, I believed in pushing those kids to be the best that they could be.
And so in a real sense, they live by example. I mean, if they can see a good example, then they are more than likely to follow it. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, most definitely. You have to have a role model that people look up to. And on the way over here, I was just thinking about, sometimes we look at the wrong role models, and I look at a guy like Puff Daddy, whatever his name. You see, when he goes out into the business world, he has a shirt and tie and a suit on, even though, you know, he may put out various other type music. But you see, in order to him to be successful, he have to be a certain way. We can't live in a bubble or a vacuum. You know, we have to reach out to various aspects of our community. You just can't live here and expect you carry yourself a certain way. You know, there's sometimes that, you know, you can relax and let your guard down and hang out with your buddies, but when it's time to go out there and in the professional world, you have to be able to communicate and present yourself in a professional manner.
The crunch time, is that what we're talking about for the most part? There's certain things that you have to know, and certain activities and certain actions that you have to be able to take.
And you have to also be willing to go the extra mile, because kids are looking for someone to lead them. They're looking for someone to show them the right way.
Or they need someone.
They most definitely need someone. You know, when people would when I was coaching Little League baseball at White City Park, and my team, I could walk off and go talk to other coaches and tell my team to sit on the hill. I knew my boys was going to sit on the hill, because if they came off the hill or they did something wrong, they knew they were going to be running about 10 laps at the next practice, because we believed in trying to teach them the right way. And that's what we have to do, go step back now and teach our kids nowadays to do things the right way so they can be all that they can be. And if we don't do it, then we're going to continue to lose our kids.
And of course, we're getting ready for this second commercial break, Brother Coure. And when we come back, we'll have an opportunity to get into a program, Reverend Hayes, I think that you have dealing with young people. And we'll be back with our audience following this short commercial break. What young gentlemen, and this is a 10-minute segment, so you take about 3 or 4 minutes to talk about that program itself, about how, you know, its conception and et cetera. And then you sort of buy into that because you've also operated with this program and et cetera, sort of feed into what he has to say. And we'll sort of do that for the next 10 minutes. But this is your show, dealing with your particular program and how you want people to respond to that. If you want somebody, you know, the people in the congregations or the greater community, et cetera, to become involved in it, you know, lay out some information as to how they might be, you know, get in touch with you and that kind of thing. And so I think that we'll do that. And so this is the young gentleman part of the program. As a matter of fact, I can remember we did a whole show on young gentlemen at one time, and that was a lot of excellent. That's the same program. I thought that was the same program. Yeah, just revitalized and certainly it's the same program because it's the same problem.
Right.
Yes, the same problem. You know. Yeah, so this is a young gentleman. Yeah, you can just, you know, how you started the program and, you know, give us a full story in reference to it, and you help him along with it, and then so we've got 10 minutes here, back and forth here. But I think this is basically what we wanted to try to achieve with this.
30 seconds out. Stand by.
Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. The topic today is encouraging African American youth, and we're talking to Pastor Daniel Hayes and Brother Richard Coure from John Wesley United Methodist Church. And of course, I think that Reverend Hayes has a program that he has developed in reference to efforts to encourage young African Americans. So let's start off with you, Brother Hayes, by having you to give us some information in reference to the conception of your program and anything that you'd like to deliver in reference to that, and Brother Coure will help develop that. One
of the things, several years ago, I looked into a program of turning boys into gentlemen. We seem to be losing that. That gentleman way, yes, and making sure that our kids know the yes ma'ams and the no sirs and thank you, and know how to dress, how to pull their clothes up, how to eat with the correct silverware and things like that. So I looked at a program that I wanted to make sure that would I felt that would touch our kids' life, and it is called Young Gentlemen. And this program is to turn boys into young, not just men, but gentlemen. So they would know how to carry themselves, know how to act, and know how to respond to all things in life. And I feel that it would take them a long way. I talked with Coach Coure, who is the president of the United Methodist Men at John Wesley United Methodist Church. And what better organization that can come together and embrace boys and help them to become the men that they can become. So the United Methodist Men is just excited about helping the boys in our community, and we want everyone to know it's not just about John Wesley. Anyone can bring their boys from the ages 6 to 15 to join the Young Gentleman Ministry at John Wesley. They don't have to be a member. We just want them to be part of the ministry so they can grow And parents can see a difference in their children. They can see a difference in their young boys, and they can see how they would change in life. They won't have to worry about them wearing their pants down. They don't have to worry about them having guns all the time. They won't have to worry about them using language that is inappropriate. So those are some of the things that we want to make sure that our young men are learning. And Coach Coure and the other United Methodist men have embraced it and are doing an excellent job. And at our last meeting, our first meeting, which was last month, we had 9 men to show up, and I just thought that was great.
Very good. Brother Coure.
Okay, when Pastor Hayes came to our Methodist men's meeting and presented this proposal to us, that just got me to thinking about, back several years ago during the summer, I used to work for the Mayor's Youth Patrol and Urban League. And I got thinking about, boy, what a great way that we can teach job readiness skills, because a lot of our young people do not have those skills. Also, conflict resolutions, and just various topics that young men need to know right now. Also, building self-esteem. Positive self-esteem is one of the big things that we need to have, because if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to go out and be able to present yourself in a successful manner. And so I said, wow, we can do this, and also teach our young people, our young men, personal hygiene, how as they grow older, they go through different type of changes throughout their body, and they have to do certain things. So all of this fits right into what we were doing with the Urban League and the Mayor's Youth Patrol, and also showing them how successful work. You build on success. If you're successful in working, you're going to be successful in life. And you have to just keep right on building. Now, if you're not successful, there's another way of doing it. You can fake it till you make it. You can pretend that you are successful. Just go ahead. Then finally, when pieces start falling together, and you say, boy, I did it. I did it the right way. You can go ahead and make it throughout life.
Each time that we talk about this as a topic, I like to raise the question in terms of educational, not only educational, but job opportunities for many of our young people, which is to say that we have a large unemployed area of young people. And do you think that it would be cost effective in a real sense for the government, either city government, national government, or whatever, to provide some kind of jobs for some of these young people? I
think that would always be great, because it teaches them as youth how to start working, and it builds a character in them that when they go out, they know that, hey, I'm becoming a man. I can work. I got to earn my way. And so, yes, it teaches them, and it embraces them to be on a workforce, not just out there doing something to make some money or to ease some money out of something else, but here they are working, earning. Here they are being respectful. Here they are saying that I am somebody and I'm doing it the right way. And it makes everybody proud when we see our kids doing it the right way, when we see them learning, when we see them earning, and when we see them saying, I can be all that I want to be and all that God wants me to be. That's what we're trying to do. And so I'm just thankful for the men at John Wesley for the effort that they're putting in this and trying to embrace our youth and want to see them become the best young men around.
Well, on dealing with jobs, it's one thing that I'm looking at is that under President Obama, he had some various policies that he wanted to get through, but because of obstruction during his presidency, he wanted to create more jobs and for the inner city infrastructure and so forth by creating more jobs, to rebuild our infrastructure and doing everything else, will hire more people. And also, you see that people want to cut taxes. Now, back in the 60s and 70s, we had a program called the CETA program, where various youth, if they had to fit a certain category, had summer jobs. And we got those young people from the various schools, but they don't do it anymore. And I think that's one thing that you're leading up to, is that we don't have the jobs in the black community. That's why the unemployment is very high in our community. And I think one of the things that happened is that they said the federal government didn't have any money. I remember back around in the mid-90s, we had a discussion with one of the teachers. I had a discussion with one of the teachers at Whites Creek. And he was complaining about paying too much taxes. And you know, taxes, some of the taxes that we use would go toward providing jobs for our young people. And I looked at him and I said, look, that's the last thing on my mind. I don't worry about paying taxes. I'm happy I have a job. Now, I know that some of these taxes that I pay is going to go back and help people who are less fortunate. So the amount of taxes I pay doesn't matter, and it's not hurting me anyway. They just thought the tax rate was too high. And so those type of things, you know, if we can go back and provide jobs for young people in all the communities, it's going to make a better place for everyone.
That's why we say it's more cost effective to provide them a job than to send them to prison.
Right.
Because if you send them to prison, you know, I think they talk about $50,000 a year to house a prison, et cetera, and you could take $5,000 of that money and save a youth, you see. And so, but that's what I wanted to get across today, to have the two of you talk about some of the challenges that our youth are facing and how we might be able to encourage them. And I think both of you have laid out some good programs in reference to what can be done. It's things that we've done prior to this time, but now it seems that it's no longer important that we do so.
Then also, we need to bring back vocation.
Okay, and let me, and I think that this is about all that we have for today. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.